Hey Norcal, it is Monday, August 5th. It is the Norcal Carter Chick, and we are live tonight with a special episode talking about the Colby DuBato Memorial Race. So, of course, um, a lot of times I hear, oh, you guys should do this and this like Kart Chaser. So to help me promote this race and to help me tonight, I did bring in Xander from Kart Chaser. We're going to talk to him a little bit tonight. We're going to talk to another guest we have. Her name is Sandy. She is from our Transitions Mental Health Association in Santa Maria, who we have partnered with. We, meaning CCKRA, has partnered with for the Colby DuBato Memorial Race. So again, the race is August 17th and 18th. We'll have qualifying on Friday qualifying on Saturday, and the race will be on Sunday. And we are looking forward to seeing everyone there. The reason that we are doing a special off the track episode is because the whole point behind the race and the celebration of it is to celebrate what would have been Colby's birthday. Colby was a part of our club and had become the race director in his last year. So we were very appreciative of that, and we miss him dearly. I grew up with him, knew him from the track. Again, we'll talk about how we knew Colby later, but it has very much been a labor of love from the CCKRA board to the DuBatos, who Rob and I have been in contact and working on this together. So they know all of our efforts. They are working, helping behind the scenes, trying to spread the word and get us help. So I do want to bring in our special guests of the evening. So we are going to start with, we'll start with Sandy so she can introduce herself first. All right. Hey, Sandy.
Hey, Ashley.
All right. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and your home track would be Santa Maria, just for
yes.
the conversation.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me, Ashley, and good evening, everybody. My name is Sandy Rives, and I work for Transitions Mental Health Association here on the beautiful Central Coast of California. Transitions spans both San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara counties. My home base is in Santa Maria, so I'm looking forward to my first kart racing experience on the 17th and 18th and honoring your friend and member of the racing family. So thank you so much for having me.
Yay. All right, we're excited. And without further ado, our other special guest, Xander Clements. Go ahead and introduce yourself for those who don't know who you are.
Hi, everybody. I'm Xander. I started Kart Chaser with a good friend of mine, Trevor, back in 2020. I've been in racing and karting since I was really 11 or 12 years old, and I turned 26 here in a couple weeks, so just over half my life. I'm the racing end, I guess, specialist of this show. And, I knew Colby through a handful of races that we would see each other at, playing video games together online. He was obviously right around my age group. I had a bunch of mutual friends with him that knew him even closer than I did. It's cool. And it was a very easy yes to join you, Ashley, for tonight's episode. and to help do everything I can to bring some more spotlight to what you guys are doing to honor him. And yeah, super cool. Super happy to be here.
All right. Thanks, Xander. And I do sort of have to shout out, since Xander was at the IKF Grand Nationals. Of course, we are Norcal. Very proud here for all of our Norcal drivers who made the trip out to Texas and did well. The kid kart class, majority of them were either from CCKRA or Prairie City. Again, right here. So very proud of all of them. Thank you, Xander, for being there and doing the live stream so we could follow in NorCal and cheer our guys on. So we appreciate you. We are going to open the show with, if you or anyone you know needs help with this topic, please feel free to visit NorCal Karters. We do have a resources tab with suicide awareness and prevention resources that we have put out to the karting community. So we just want to get this information out there. I do have a message from Rob DuBato. I asked him, I did tell him that you were going to be on. I told him that it was going to be a big night for me. So I simply said, hey, Rob, is there anything that you want us to cover or get out? And he sent me back the words that I'm going to say. So he said, the only thing that I can suggest is that in Colby's case, there was not signs of depression or mental health issues. He had several concussions in the past, but then add all the issues COVID caused, and we will never have the answers. But if you see someone down on themselves, even for just a day, do your best and get involved. So that was just today. But when the news was brought up about Colby, I had spent several hours on the phone with Rob, and that was sort of his message from the beginning, is just get it out there. Like, just talk about it. Just bring it up. Because he didn't know, and he didn't know what to ask, and he didn't. I mean, I'm not going to air everything out, but that is straight from the source what his goal is for us. So I'm taking that and running with it. Like I said, we've partnered with Transitions Mental Health Association. So at the race, Sandy will be there promoting sort of local resources, but we also do have national resources available. So again, Norcal Karters resources are available. Yeah. So this is the Transitions Mental Health Association website. So again, lots of resources. We can point you in the right direction. And here we go. So let's talk a little bit about, Sandy, your background in sort of mental health advocacy and how, like, what you're going to bring, what information you're going to bring type thing.
All right. Well, I will first say that I am not a therapist or a psychologist. I am actually a peer, a person with my own lived experience with mental health issues. I struggled through high school and college, not knowing where to get help. And so I didn't know I was going to go into the field of mental health. But about 15 years ago, I had the opportunity to enter the mental health field as a peer, again, somebody with my own lived experience. And I've been able to share my own experience with depression and suicidal ideation to inspire hope, to lessen the stigma around mental illness and to let people know that help is available. And so I just want to talk today a little bit about how important mental health is and taking care of our mental health. I'll give you some tips for both drivers and family members and fans, really anybody, on how to stay mentally well.
All right, sorry guys. Now I'm having camera issues, but Jason and I are working on it in the background. So yes, we're excited to have you partner with us and be at the race. Xander, let's talk
while Ashley figures out her computer, I'll jump in real quick. I don't have my camera on because I just got back from the track. So yeah, I walked in the door, made dinner, jumped on the podcast. So that's why my camera's not on. So I didn't say earlier to both of you, thank you for joining us. There she is. She's back.
Ooh.
All right.
So Xander, real quickly, maybe you could shed some light on this. When we have people joining in the studio in the background, randomly, it blacks out the host.
Yeah, we'll add that to the show notes.
Add that to the show notes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go back after.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so where were we? Xander, let's talk a little bit about let's kind of help Sandy discuss the pressures that drivers will face in karting with mental health challenges. Sort of like the competitive mentality and how that could, affect it and things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of external pressures on you in this sport, but I think what's unique with karting specifically, right? How the majority of the events, if not all the events, are really only attended by participants. In this case, drivers, and then maybe their immediate family, maybe one or two friends, right? So you end up first with this kind of traveling circus, if you will, but at the same time, you're not all on the same team. It's almost like a naturally inducing two-sided environment where on one hand, the only people that understand what you do and share a common interest are the ones that are at the track. But at the same time, those are the same people that you need to be able to block out and believe in your mind, whether or not you say it outwardly or not, that you're better than when you go and compete against each other. And so when you compile that social environment with the, time commitment and financial commitment that really kind of makes it where it's not a part of your life, it consumes your life, and that's what your life is. You've got it for, you're not playing, kids that like Colby, like myself, you don't do a lot of other things. Your social circle is just that. Your life is, so it can get really easy to feel a bit lonely in an environment like that, I think. Speaking both from experience and whatnot, it was a big driving force for me of building Kart Chaser, wanting to grow the sport to be bigger. That where I grew up in Georgia, our club at Barnesville was withering, and it was small, and Atlanta Motorsports Park hadn't got the momentum that they had. I think that budget-wise, we would have been very happy being local club racers, me and my dad. That was where our experience and our budget should have put us. And I think what I would have loved about that would have been what I got to see later in life, traveling around, that friends had made, local friendships that kind of left the track. But at least for me, like I said, I met Colby. We'd play video games together. We had a bunch of mutual friends as well. Like, your racing friends, those are the only ones that share this interest that you have, but it's an individualistic sport. So I think that alone is tough. There's obviously a lot of travel. and you're not always, traveling with, it's different than travel ball sports where you're traveling with your team, right? If you're with your team, that even in the team dynamic we have in karting now, it might not mean that you've got more than maybe one or two kids, if that, your age, at your experience, that you connect with, that you're kind of going on the road with. So I think it's very easy to end up in a tough mental spot when you kind of bring those factors together. On top of, like you said, Ashley, you just off the commitment that the families have to make to support the kid or support the dad or the mom or the daughter or the son or whoever's driving. It's every dollar you got, every minute you got, everything you have. And so that weighed on me at every level we had. I would, think twice about making moves, not of getting hurt, because I didn't know if we could afford the damage and if it was going to end us. I didn't want it to cost us any more money than it already was. So, yeah, there's a lot of pressure you can kind of add to the sport, and there's a lot of different ways to that I think you can bring that up, right? Or different rabbit holes to go down for sure.
But, and yet you have to be, mentally clear in order to perform, well. You have to make split-second decisions, that'll make or break your performance. You're always under that pressure, not just yourself, but the people that, watch you. You can be praised on social media, or you can be trashed on social media. So I would say that probably another pressure that comes along with it as well.
Right. I mean, Ashley's got our Instagram pulled up here and scrolling through that. The guy in the blue and pink and purple suit there, the RPG suit, is a kid named, I should say kid, he's my age, 25, Ryan. He's, built himself an amazing career, Sandy. He's, making good money, getting paid to drive go-karts, train the next generation. And he has a resume and stat sheet of championships and race wins that's the best of my generation. Every time we post that he wins, he gets more hate comments than likes, and or hate comments than positive praise. Not because he did anything wrong. Some people, will maybe microscopically do it, but a lot of it's because he wins too much. So, imagine that. You do everything right. You work your tail off. You get a guy like Jason saying for you to switch classes, right?
Okay, hold on. Here's where we're split at Norcal Karters, because Jason's the one that eggs this on, and I am a fan. So that's Jason.
Yeah. So, but point being, imagine being in his shoes, right? Yes, he's had in some of his best dominant years, which this year he's having a pretty good season. Obviously, he just won this championship with the SCUSA Pro Tour, which is one of the big three U.S. national, ongoing kind of championships. We don't have one in karting. I would say we really have three. This is one of them, and he's won. He's in contention in the other one, and the third he's not competing in this year. So having a pretty good year, and you put all that effort in, and you see a post like that, and everyone, you're expecting everyone to go, "Hey, congrats, nice job, that's awesome." You just reset the bar, broke your own record for the highest number of national championships in this era in this division, and you get torn to shreds. So the social media stuff adds on to it too, and that's why, on a side note, for us, we are very particular about how we do things at different age groups. This is a master Kart Chaser Instagram she was showing you. We started a spin-off kids page this year, and I'd been very timid about how I wanted to do that for a long time. I was very scared of it, to be honest. The last thing I wanted was some 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old that made a mistake on the racetrack, made a bad judgment call, did something that they shouldn't have, just like any other kid, and should learn from it. But you watch any of the go-kart races and it looks like professional racing. The parents talk about kids by their last name, not by their first name, just like they're a professional driver, and forget they're in 4th and 5th grade, and we'll tear them up too. And so on the kids page, we are extremely careful with what because sometimes even if I just post a picture of a smiling kid at the trophy ceremony, they'll get some angry person or multiple people will get in the comments and go, he doesn't deserve that. He wrecked someone, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it's a fine line of trying to, because with the spotlight comes the good and the bad. But every parent obviously wants to see their kid in lights, the kid's name in lights. So there's such a weird balance with that.
Yeah.
And with Colby specifically too, there was a level of bullying going on that I mean, I didn't see it, so there's that. But I've also witnessed it. I work the scales at some of these races, and I hear the way that these kids talk to each other. And I've stopped a couple and just have been like, no, we're not even gonna like talk like that, because these kids, they have no filter, but at the same time, like, they're trying to fit in, they're trying to be funny. So then I'm dealing with like this kid calling this kid something else, and this kid looks sad and this kid's laughing, and I'm just like, really? Like, we just got off the track and we are still dealing with this.
Yeah, and here's a statistic for you. 75% of mental health disorders start before the age of 25.
Yeah.
Great statistic.
And the other thing with the sport, Sandy, right, is with racing, there's a push, not a push, but it's not the same. It's as even as stick and ball sports have morphed to now more and more travel ball and private premier clubs and camps and stuff. It's not just like go to your YMCA and then play for your high school team to get scouted on the hopes of going all the way to, the NBA or the NFL. There is a little more parents need to know how to navigate what leagues to put their kid in at what level, whatnot. Racing is that to an entirely other degree. And whether it's, managing the kid's social media, when do you turn the keys over, how much do you expose your kid to that? Everyone's got different philosophies on all of it. But that part too of, okay, like in interviews and anything else, there's some parents where they run their kids' Instagram. There's some that don't even post about it until they're much older. When they're 13, 14, 15, just for that reason, because it's such a crucial development period for, these kids growing up. But for all of them, if they're trying to make a name for themselves at some point and, hopes of whether it's professional go-kart driver, professional car racing driver, professional driver coach, or some position of status in the sport, and just naturally, as they all are, they're going to make social media accounts through middle school and high school. They have to start kind of acting and posting a lot and being a public figure almost at 15, 16, 17. And based on, again, as we know with brain development, until they're my age, they're not fully, done developing.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So that's why it's just so important to, check in with each other. We, in the competitive sports field, everybody wants to put on that brave face, doesn't want to be judged for being weak or looking weak or anything. So that's why it's so important to talk about, hey, really check in with people. How are you doing? After maybe a bad accident or, a bad race, bad outcome, really, how are you doing? How are you really doing? Because it's so easy to say, okay, fine, and just kind of, blow it off. But yeah.
Yeah. And the lifestyle in especially for a lot of, we're talking obviously with kids and, in the case with Colby specifically, right? I mean, I'm not at the age where I should be outliving or going, losing friends of mine, right? That's not supposed to happen. But I mean, the mental health toll or the mental toll, is really high when you break down this sport as well for the people, especially those that, like myself, that work in it, for these race teams and race shops and series and tracks. And I mean, you basically have a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, And then you also do the job that you've been prepping for or working Monday through Friday on Saturday and Sunday as well, on top of traveling sometimes every week of the year. I mean, I got back at about 1 a.m. last night from the last event. I leave Wednesday morning for Cincinnati for this next event this week. And that's because I'm on the broadcast team where our real weekend doesn't start until 2 p.m. and we're doing setup on Wednesday and Thursday. And if I was a race team, I would have probably spent the night out of town Sunday night and then driven straight from there Monday morning. I had 6 or 8 weeks on the road last year that were straight until this year that we were able to build our business to make a little bit more and work our logistics a little better and try to give those mental health days. So the mental taxing of being away from your home, your friends, your family, and I say this to go, there's a lot of times at the track where it used to really bug me when I was younger, and I would like almost try to scope out people where the conversation would go more than how are you running today is a common question, right? Are you racing? When are you racing next? How are you doing? Right. And there are a lot of weeks I almost feel like a broken record where how often those basic, like small talk questions, I have. And it's funny with the shirt even that I have on, Brandon Jarscrack, he's also my age. He started his own race team. I see him almost every week at the races. We go to a lot of the same events. So there's no catching up, but like, that's the normal uniformity. And sometimes we just see each other and it's just, hey, right? Like we were past the hi, how's it going? Good to see you again.
Yeah.
It's saw you 2 days ago. Good to see you back in the office here on Monday. I saw you last Friday when we clocked out and worked together.
Right.
And not to say that we don't check in on each other, but in a lot of cases, it used to really annoy me that it felt like all these conversations were so surface deep. And I tried almost once a weekend, if I have a moment, to like catch up, like legitimately catch up with a 20-30 minute, hey, how's life going? Let's talk about something other than the racing we're doing.
Yeah.
How's the love life doing at home? How's your friends? When's the last time you talked to your parents? Like I was talking with a good buddy of mine a couple weeks ago at the last national race. So I guess 2 weeks ago, we just happened to be in the restaurant at Newcastle having a sandwich at the same time. And he's like, hey man, how's it going? We got talking about how, weddings are so expensive. And I was bragging to him about my amazing girlfriend, who she's actually over here in the other room right now, waiting for me to finish this podcast so we can go back and spend a little more time together before I leave again. And just caught up on life for 20-30 minutes. I don't know if that gets talked enough, that how, both of us were kind of being guys, right? Not wanting to be that open, but both were like at the end of the conversation, man, it was really good to catch up. I feel like I haven't done that in a while this year. And I was like, yeah, I see you every week. See you every single, multiple days.
I've been calling this so basically my story with Colby takes a little bit of turn this direction because 5 days before it happened, I had reached out to him to talk about Supernats. He had just got back from Supernats. That was the last race that he did. And to go along with what you were saying, Xander, like, yes, you feel like a broken record, almost to the point where it's like for granted conversation, because with Colby, it was just like, I asked the same question, sort of got the same answer, gave the same response. And now that's all we have left, when all it could have taken is, hey dude, like, how are you doing even though you didn't do well? And of course I've had to process my whole thing with it, and that's a huge motivator for this race. But just asking a little bit more, like just asking, period, some people don't get that. Some people at home, their family or their group that surrounds them, they don't understand racing. Like Xander is saying, we all travel together. We all go out to eat together, like he's saying. So for us, our weeks start, yes, on the weekend, but for some people, they're just working towards the weekend just to talk to somebody who understands. And for us to be in this environment and sort of just not talk to each other or let things kind of be weird, and I don't really want to ask him because I don't want him to think like I'm bugging too much or I'm trying to be weird or things like that. So that's where we're.
That's the thing is like, I mean, we just need to normalize normalize talk around mental health. I mean, if somebody breaks a leg, what do? We send them flowers and cards. What can I do to help? Right. You would never say, just get over it. Right. If they broke their leg, just get over it. Oh, you're being weak. And yet mental health issues, that's how we sometimes judge them and treat them. It's like, oh, just suck it up. Things are, it's not that bad and that kind of thing. And that's what leads to that stigma and people not reaching out for help is they're afraid of that judgment, not knowing who's a safe person to talk to or open up to. So normalizing those conversations, and that's what we're doing tonight. And I'm thankful for you inviting me and having this open conversation.
And to kind of build off what you're saying as well, something I kind of want to point out too with Colby is he was a kid, like, and at that point, kids don't know, like you're saying, they don't know who to reach out to. I'm not speaking for Colby. I'm not saying this is how he felt or anything like that. I'm just saying I feel as if these kids don't know where can we go to get information, where can we just say, hey, I'm really pissed off because I didn't do well at this race, and things like that. We have to normalize that conversation as well too. So yes, I'm glad you are bringing up all these great points, and Xander's also helping us tie it into mental health in motorsports. So again, I just wanted to remind everybody about the Colby DuBato Memorial Race. We are going to be celebrating his birthday, and it's going to be on August 17th and 18th in Santa Maria. We have lots of things planned. There are prizes. There are cash prizes in senior 100cc. There's $2,500. In junior 100cc, we're giving away an entry to Challenge of the Americas because those are the classes that Colby ran, and that was the series that Colby ran. But everything else is sort of discussion. There you go. Everything else is sort of coming together, and we have raised enough money to give out prizes in every class. I don't want to bring this up because I want to talk about the prizes and because I want to talk about the money. I want to bring this up because at this event, we're going to be talking about mental health resources and bringing awareness to the karting community. Again, I've been working with Robbie DuBato on a lot of all of these plans. My board has been totally we hit the ground running once we knew what Robbie wanted. And so this is our labor of love for Colby, and we didn't want his parents to celebrate his birthday alone. So if you can join us, please join us in Santa Maria. If you can't join us, there is ways that you can donate towards the event. We are going to be giving a donation in Colby's memory to Transitions Mental Health Association to spread more awareness and bring out more local resources and things like that. So, yes, again, Colby DuBato, thank you to all our sponsors and people that have helped out so far. So, Sandy, I kind of have a question. Let's talk about the parents' roles in their child's mental health. And then maybe Xander can kind of relate it to motorsports a little bit more. But let's talk about things parents can do or things to look for, things like that, tools to give parents for their toolbox.
Sure. Yeah. So with, kids, youth, you want to look for any big changes in behaviors or social, maybe they're more quiet or withdrawn than usual. And, checking in, like I said, many mental health disorders start very young, and early intervention is key to better outcomes later in life. So noticing those changes and checking in, getting that help, and just opening up that door and letting your child know that it's okay to talk about it, and you're there to listen without judgment. Hey, tell me how you're doing. It's okay. And also the parents can model that when they're having a bad day. You know what? I'm really sad today. I'm really angry today. And just modeling that it's okay to talk about emotions, and it shouldn't be anything to be ashamed of.
All right,
Yeah.
Xander. So, go ahead.
No, you can lead it in. Sorry.
So let's kind of talk about how we can sort of spread this information throughout the karting community. Again, to the parents that have questions and things like that. What should we do as a karting community to work together? Not just Norcal, all of us.
Yeah, I think checking in's a start, right? Speaking from personal experience, I mean, of the load that we've had, I just recently began treatment and medication for ADHD. That I have always been joking with my friends, and my friends have joked with me that I've been undiagnosed. And growing up, it was never an issue. I had straight A's in school. I had plenty of time. And, I'd go from these hyper stimulus race weekend environments. I think it probably made it where, it's one of the things I liked about racing. Everything seemed to be at the same speed, but I would notice myself getting really burnt out mentally by the end of the day, just from my head kind of spinning and the voices going a bit too fast. And a friend of mine at a race also had it and had a prescription. And he's like, here, why don't you try just take this 12-hour medication and see. And it was, the way I would describe it was like I had a desk cluttered with messy paperwork, just paper all over. And all of a sudden it was all in neat stacks. Every problem was solvable. And the biggest thing that was noticeable and what sent me down the path to talk to my doctor was that my entire Kart Chaser crew was like, Xander, you have never been this positive during a broadcast. We all have a better day when we notice your mood is better. We have a bad day when we notice your mood is bad. We see the load you're going through. And that was the turning point for me. I would have probably, had it not been for the impact that I noticed that it made on the people around me, suffered through it. And I should have never, gone that, like, it's one of those things that I should have just been, hey, talk to my parents. it was always like, you know, it's one of those, I think, especially with talking about mental health or solving an issue, sometimes you look back and you realize how big the problem affected you over your life and over years in past. And whether it was I'd come home to slower days, get 5% done on 5 different tasks, then get frustrated I made no progress in half the day, feel rushed, rinse, repeat over and over, to, you know, we'd get to the end of some of our race days and I wouldn't have the energy to want to hang out with my own team. I'd want to go to my room, turn on a TV that it would literally, I could turn my brain off. You know, it was one of the only crutches I had. Now I have no problem hanging out with my guys and talking at night. And it, again, was spurred by someone, you know, saying, hey, maybe, you know, it's not just you need to man up and get through it, right? It's worth it. And I don't, you know, at 25, almost 26 years old, I wish I would have talked to my parents or my doctor about it when I was younger. And this is, again, a very minor thing, but I think without question, it kind of, you know, there were points in my life where it felt like the world was spinning because everything was coming so fast and the negativity comes fast. But I didn't want to say I had depression. I didn't want to say I was sad. And I don't think I did, looking back, to be honest with you. But would I have been embarrassed to go and admit that? I mean, probably, right? Maybe at one point I did go through some bouts. Who knows? But I didn't speak up about it, right? And there weren't necessarily a million telltale signs. I know for a fact that I was sad and feeling really lonely my first year to 2 years on the road announcing it when I was 16 and 17 years old, 18 years old, before I took a full-time job offer while I was finishing school down in Miami. I was booking myself for 25, 30 travel weekends a year. I'd fly out on Thursday afternoon. I'd go to the track. I'd work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was the only commentator. So I'd be in a room by myself for 12 hours a day, go, you know, leave the track, pick up fast food, go to my hotel, eat, do homework, wake up, do the same thing, fly home Monday morning, go to class Monday night to Wednesday or to Thursday morning and do it again. That sucked. It was sad. Yeah. I don't think people know, you know, you wouldn't notice it. Any picture I have from that era, I'm smiling, I'm having a good time. And I'm not saying there weren't good moments either, but if I'm honest and I look back on that period of my life, like, it was tough. And I don't think I didn't really kind of tell people that till I was able to change my lifestyle and it got better. But, you know, my parents knew, and I checked in with them. Could I have checked in more? Yes. But I say all that to say that I know I see the load on the kids, the parents, the, you know, industry members, week in, week out. I get it. I've been in their shoes a lot.
I was going to share a little bit too about sort of my story is about maybe a year-ish ago. Let's say 2023, I used to work for a specific series. I'm not going to name the series, but specific series. And I really built in that series, and I felt like I was very irreplaceable, and I wasn't. And we split ways, and there was that. But after I left, I realized the mental sort of load that it carried, being that I felt like, did I tie my value to this series because this is where I was putting in all of my time and effort? And then that's sort of when I jumped on board with, I had already been on board with Norcal Karters. So it's sort of, everything sort of spun around there. And I sort of just refocused. And so I do agree with Xander. Even though this is the greatest sport on the planet, whether you're a driver or you're in the industry, it takes a toll on you. And we have to be able to have the conversation. We have to check on our friends. We have to talk to each other. We have to utilize the resources that we're all trying to put out now. So I agree with what Colby's saying. I mean, sorry. Colby's on my brain. But I agree with what Xander is saying. And I really just wish that Colby could be here with us to see obviously see the impact, but we needed this to start the conversation. And we're doing this for him to start the conversation. So we are going to start closing up. In the comments, if you want to put any questions for Xander, for Sandy, for myself about the Colby DuBato Memorial Race, anything like that, we will talk a little bit with Sandy about some resources that we can put out nationally for anybody who may be tuning in, not from Norcal, but yes, please join us at the Colby DuBato Memorial Race. If you can't, please visit the website and see how you can help. And yeah, there you go. If you want to reach out Norcal Carters, DM, Facebook, Instagram. We could do anonymous questions, anything like that. Questions for us. But let's talk about the importance of community support, Xander, as we start wrapping up. And then Sandy will close us out with some resources.
Yeah, it's huge. You know, I think it's so important to kind of make sure you're still looking around at the racetrack if you're having a good day, to see if there's anyone that isn't, right? Because we all have the highs and lows of racing, right? And at the end of the day, I think if you've been around it enough, you've had the worst and the best. And it's important that if your day's going good, that you at least try to do what you can to go out of your way to see someone that maybe isn't, and at least make sure you give them the time of day. It is so cool for me to walk the pits at a lot of our races that we go to, that I'm personally at any level, national, regional, club, and to see someone come up and tell me how cool it is that what we've built. It makes all of the world of a difference and motivates me and all my guys and girls so much. I could come out of the worst meeting. I might have just lost a deal with a race series. I might be burnt out, and just the positivity, not even necessarily having to, ask what I went through, because that's important too. And that's something you should absolutely do. But just someone bringing positivity and saying, man, it was so cool. I got to watch my kid last week and I was at work, or I never, would have gotten into this sport if it weren't for, discovering it off of what you guys were doing. Man, that stuff makes my day every time. And it's just might be one person for a 30-second conversation, and all of a sudden the last 6 hours, 12 hours of however hard it was goes away. I think the same thing can be said for anyone at the racetrack. Whether it's a compliment on, man, that's a super cool helmet, or that pass was sweet, or dude, you were so fast this weekend. When someone's had a bad day, and you can tell on their face and their body language. And, I'm sure that's what they would love to have. And that kind of comes back around, because when you're having a bad day, hopefully that same person that you kind of lifted up comes and lifts you up on another day. So I think that's something that, when you talk community support, would be really cool to see more of. Not that it isn't already there, right? But just something maybe to keep in everyone's mind is, first and foremost, to check in. And, again, when you have a field this big that a lot of races we go to do, there's going to be one happy guy, maybe a couple happy guys or girls at the end of it, and a lot that aren't. So, the fact that you lose more in the sport than you ever will win is great from a, life development aspect, but it can be extremely mentally taxing. And it can be frustrating to see drivers there motion into each other. So
and
when you're
same
having
goes,
a good day,
and same
people
goes for track officials and series promoters and track owners and the people who are putting on the races. So things to think about. That's why we always remind you guys, thank the staff, thank the corner workers, thank the the registration. I'm going to say chick because most of ours here are ladies. I'm sorry. But just thank everybody on the staff, because most clubs are volunteer based. Most clubs, yes, people are getting paid to do these jobs, but they're not getting paid salary wages here, people. Like, we are here all for the benefit of the sport. So again, please thank your track staff. Again, guys like Phil, Flagman, Bill, Mark on the grid, people that just need to be reminded that they're doing a good job. Xander, we got some comments for you. And yeah, thanks to Kart Chaser for their coverage of the IKF Nationals. Norcal is very much represented over there. Hey, Brian. But as we wrap up, Sandy's going to share some resources for all of us to utilize.
Yeah, definitely. So the National Suicide Lifeline is 988. I think it's amazing that they finally recognize that people having mental health crises should have just as easy access as people having physical health crises, and making it a 3-digit number. You can also text help to 741-741 if you're a texter. There's also apps that you can tap into for like breathing and meditation, things like Headspace and Calm. Since if you're on the go a lot, there are like apps for therapy on the go. There's one called Cerebral. This is one that actually Simone Biles uses and promotes. Since she travels a lot, she can use that. You can do a YouTube search and just search sports and mental health, or motorsports and mental health, and see videos of other professional athletes who have struggled with mental health issues. If you are struggling, you're in the company of greats. We've got Brandon Marshall. Many athletes are coming out and talking about their struggles with mental health challenges and getting help. So there's a lot. And then there's NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, is a website you can go to and check out a lot of resources. And you can also take some online trainings just to learn more about the mental health signs and symptoms and how to intervene. There's a mental health first aid course for adults and youth. And there's a QPR, question, persuade, refer, suicide prevention training that you can tap into. And then, of course, if you're on the Central Coast in San Luis Obispo or Santa Barbara County, you can look to TIMA, www.t-mha.org, for local resources as well. We even have support for family members, for loved ones, who need help navigating with a loved one. So yeah, lots of resources out there.
All right. Thanks, Sandy. And we look forward to seeing you at the race on August 17th and 18th. Sandy's going to join us out there. So everybody will know who Sandy is.
Come
and
say hi.
You can come say hi to her.
Some mental health swag.
Yes. So thanks, Sandy, for joining us tonight. We will catch up with you in a second. Xander, where are you going to be next? And go ahead and close us out.
Yeah, I'll be this week. We have the U.S. Pro Kart Series at Cincinnati. The week after, I actually have a gap week. I don't know exactly where I'm going to be on the weekend. I've got stuff during on the week. The following after that, we've got a doubleheader and events just all over. So a go-kart track probably every weekend, I think, through this part of the year with the 1 or 2 gaps here and there. But this week, Cincinnati to MCC. I'm excited to get up there. We all, our crew loves going to that track. The Sean Bailiff, his wife Michelle, take great care of us, and 200 drivers for that event should be a lot of fun. There's a bunch of other events coming up, and back to it. But just like we talked about on the show, until then, for the next day and a half, I'm only about 50% on karting mindset wise, and I'm going to try and make sure I have a nice little mental health break. I don't know if that counts exactly. Tomorrow I have a doctor's appointment. That's not the exact thing for, recharging, but it's not at a racetrack. So I'll count it partly.
You're taking care of yourself.
Absolutely.
And then,
so,
Xander, how do we connect with Kart Chaser for people who may not be on there?
Yeah. Just following us online, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X, and on any of them, it's either at Kart Chaser or at Kart.Chaser or Kart Chaser Official. We have our Kart Chaser Grassroots and Kart Chaser Kids spinoff pages. If you Google search us, at this point, I think we've put enough work in that we're pretty high up on the chain with that. So, check us out. We'll have races live this weekend. We're back on the air on Friday, and we'll be hanging around, showing off some T-shirts and hoodies and hats and everything else, through the race weekend. So, yeah.
Hey, Ashley.
Yes.
Have you and Xander, have you heard of the pro driver Jordan Mizig?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know he has a website, Racing for Mental Health?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another resource they have, that he put together. So,
Awesome. All right, we'll definitely get the info for that to share it. But thank you, everyone, for joining us. Again, we will be at Santa Maria on August 17th and 18th to celebrate the Colby DuBato Memorial Race. Please join us if you can. If you cannot, please visit our website to see how you can help. I am going to let you guys know next week we are going to be doing a show with Joe Janowski. It's going to be episode 2 of the safety show. So he's going to be on with us. And after that, I am off. So thanks everyone for joining us. And as always, like Jason says, if we all bring one person into karting, we will double by next year. Peace.